Welcome back, everybody. Let's get your news. Just gone 8 o'clock here on the program. Duduzane Zuma's trial will resume at the Randburg Magistrates Court this morning. He's facing one count of culpable homicide and another of reckless and negligent driving following a car accident 5 years ago. Zuma will this morning face cross-examination by State Prosecutor Yusuf Baba. The matter was adjourned yesterday because of technical problems. During his testimony, Zuma maintained the crash was not as a result of human error, but rather he lost control of his vehicle after hitting a puddle of water. His car crashed into a minibus taxi on the M1 highway, resulting in the death of Phumzile Dube. For more on the story, let's now cross live to our reporter, Mkani Mpolweni. She is in Randburg at the court. Talk to us about what happened yesterday, because it was set down for 3 days. Now there was the postponement yesterday, supposedly starting again this morning. Talk to us what's happening.
Good morning, Leanne. Yes, yesterday it was postponed because of technical glitches with the stenographer machine, which is a recording machine which records the proceedings of the court. So the machine kept switching off, interrupting the court because there was a power outage in the morning when the court was due to start. It started with delays because of that. Now those power outages affected that machine, which is why then it was postponed yesterday. And today we are starting early before the 9 o'clock usual time. We're starting at 8:30. Duduzane Zuma and his legal team have already arrived. The prosecution is also here. So by 8:30, we are set to start.
Talk us through what happened yesterday. Obviously, what we're looking at and reading is that Duduzane Zuma is still maintaining that the crash was not a result of human error. I imagine he's going to continue on the stand.
Yes, today is cross-examination. Yesterday, he was being led in evidence in chief by his advocate counsel, where he told his side of the story. Today, this is where the grueling cross-examination comes into play. The prosecutor will question him on the evidence that he's given. Yesterday, the prosecutor had started already bringing the recording, the files of the proceedings of 2014 when the inquiry sat at this very court, which then found Zuma to be liable for the crash. So today it's going to be that cross-examination where he will be asked on the evidence that he led. Yesterday when he spoke, he maintains that he was driving at 120 when he got onto the highway. He was coming from Four Ways going home to Saxon World. But just before he could get to Greyston Drive, which is where the crash happened, he slowed down, saying that he did not look at his speedometer. He slowed down because it had started to rain heavily and the roads were wet. But he estimates that he must have been driving between 90 and 100, and that's when his car hit that pool of water and it spun around uncontrollably. He says during this time he didn't know what was happening. He just held on to the steering wheel without hitting the brakes or anything. He just held on to the steering wheel until he felt the car hitting something, which we now know that it was the taxi, and it eventually stopped on its own, facing the direction in which he was coming from. He then moved the car because it was now blocking the traffic and facing oncoming traffic. He moved it to the side of the road, and that's when he went to check at the taxi that he had hit Leanne.
Just finally, do we know much about the state prosecutor who's going to be cross-examining Zuma this morning, Yusuf Baba?
Yusuf Baba is the senior public prosecutor here at this Randburg Magistrates Court. He is one prosecutor who's handled some of the profile and big cases here in Randburg Court. Just the Flabber case, murder case. He was there doing that case at the beginning before it was handed to High Court. He is handling this one, and he also handled the inquest of Duduzane in this crash before. So he's very much knowledgeable when it comes to this case. He is the one during the inquest who brought to the attention of the court that the Porsche has that special feature which can prevent crashes when it hits the water. So he's very knowledgeable with the case because he has done it before, and he brought that case, and he brought experts to talk about the features in the Porsche, which Duduzane Zuma has said that he was not aware that his Porsche had that special feature. And Baba had asked him, how long have you been driving the car before the crash? And he says that he bought the car in 2011, so he had been driving the car for 3 years, but he didn't know that it had that feature. So the prosecutor is well in the know when it comes to this case and other profile cases because of his seniority as well, Leanne.
All right, let's leave it there. Sibongile covering the story for us, and she will do throughout the day as it's set to resume at 9 o'clock this morning.